7 Silent Reasons Women Resent Their Husbands as They Age. How to Fix It. As we age, the passage of time has a way of reshaping not just our bodies, but our relationships. The love we once knew, vibrant, thrilling, and full of possibility, often gives way to something quieter. Something deeper, but perhaps also more complicated. For women, this shift is profound. As the years go by, the changes they experience are not just physical, they are emotional, mental, and psychological. But one of the most challenging aspects of growing older is how these changes affect the relationship they share with the person they've loved and lived with for so many years, their husbands. Now, I'm not talking about the obvious, outward struggles, those might be easier to see. No, I'm talking about the silent struggles, the ones that grow quietly beneath the surface. The deep, unspoken frustrations that often remain hidden in the shadows of a marriage. Have you ever felt, as you've gotten older, like you're no longer seen? Like you've become a background character in the life you once shared with your partner? Or perhaps, like you're carrying a weight of invisible burdens that you can't quite name. You're not alone. This is something many women experience, but it's rarely talked about. Women often struggle in silence, enduring these emotional upheavals without voicing them, afraid of rocking the boat or afraid that speaking up might create more distance than closeness. But why does this happen? Why do so many women, as they age, find themselves resenting the very person who once made them feel loved and cherished? Why does this resentment, which begins as a small ember, slowly grow into a flame that can burn through the foundation of a marriage? In this chapter, we will explore the reasons behind these hidden struggles, the things that create distance between wives and husbands, even after decades of shared history. Together, we'll uncover the silent battles that many women face as they grow older, and examine why these feelings of resentment often stay locked away in the heart. But here's the thing, these struggles are not the end. They don't have to be. They are simply a part of the journey, and like any challenge, they can be overcome. This is not a story of endings, but one of transformation. A journey toward understanding, healing, and ultimately, rediscovering love, on a deeper level than ever before. As we dive into this conversation, ask yourself, have I ever felt these silent struggles? Or perhaps, have I noticed my partner withdrawing, even when I don't understand why? The truth is, in every long-term relationship, especially as we age, things change. But change doesn't have to be a bad thing, it can be an opportunity for growth. And that's exactly what we're going to explore together. So, take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey of understanding. As the years pass, something subtle happens in many marriages. The identities of the people within them start to shift. What once felt like a perfect balance, a shared sense of who you are together, begins to feel different. Sometimes, it's so gradual that it's almost imperceptible. But the effects are powerful. You might find yourself looking at your partner, the person you once knew so intimately, and wondering, who are they now? You might be asking yourself, who am I? And the truth is, sometimes, the answers aren't so clear anymore. For many women, aging brings about a deep sense of self-awareness. The physical changes are just the beginning. There's a shift in perspective, a reevaluation of life's purpose. The woman you were in your 30s or 40s may not be the same woman you are now in your 60s or 70s. And that's okay. It's natural. In fact, it's part of the beauty of life, this constant evolution, this unfolding of who we are. But here's the catch, as you change, your relationship changes too. And sometimes, when one partner changes and the other doesn't, or doesn't recognize it, it creates a divide. Imagine this, you've spent decades building a life with someone, and now you look at them and realize, you've drifted apart. Not because of a dramatic event, but because time and circumstance have slowly worn away at the connection you once shared. You feel like a different person now, perhaps more introspective, more independent, or more aware of what you want from life. But your partner, they're still living as though everything's the same. For many women, this shift feels isolating. The person they once laughed with, cried with, shared dreams with, is now a stranger in some ways. They may not understand the changes that are happening within you, and that can breed resentment. You might feel like your partner isn't seeing the new you, the person you've become with time and experience. You may find yourself wishing they would notice the things you've learned, the wisdom you've gained, or the desires you now have for the future, but when they don't, it feels like a quiet kind of rejection. As though the life you've shared together is being dismissed. And this, my friends, is where resentment begins to root itself. The question is, how do you navigate this? How do you address the loss of connection without it feeling like the end of something beautiful? First, understand that it's completely normal to experience these shifts. Our identities don't remain static. They grow and evolve just as we do. And the same is true for your partner. He, too, is changing, perhaps in ways you haven't noticed, or perhaps in ways he hasn't fully understood himself. But here's the key, this change doesn't have to drive you apart. In fact, it can be an opportunity to rediscover each other in a new light. It can be a chance to reignite that spark of connection, but only if both partners are willing to meet each other halfway. There's a certain vulnerability in growing older. But there's also incredible strength. And when you share that strength with your partner, when you're able to openly acknowledge the changes you're both going through, the relationship has the chance to grow even deeper. So, while this chapter may start with feelings of loss and disconnection, let me leave you with a thought: this doesn't have to be the end of your shared identity. It's simply the beginning of discovering a new one, and if you're feeling like you've lost yourself, or lost your connection to your partner, remember, it's never too late to find your way back. To rediscover who you both are, together. As we grow older, the dynamics of our relationships shift. But one of the most significant changes that often goes unnoticed is the shift in our emotional needs. And for many women, as they age, these needs become even more vital. Yet, this is the part of the relationship that often remains neglected. Think about it. When you were younger, it was easier to show love and affection, wasn't it? The relationship was full of spontaneous moments, romantic gestures, late-night conversations, plans for the future. But as time passes, life becomes busier. The kids grow up, careers evolve, and suddenly, you find yourself facing a new reality. You may be at an age where the weight of life's responsibilities has become overwhelming. And you're looking to your partner for emotional support, only to realize it's not there. What happens when you feel like the one person you've spent your life with doesn't notice your emotional needs anymore? What happens when the man you love seems too distracted, too distant, or too withdrawn to offer the affection, understanding, and emotional intimacy you crave? This is the silent despair many older women face. Their emotional needs, which once seemed to be met without question, now feel ignored or unimportant. And this isn't just about affection, it's about validation, appreciation, and the desire for deep connection. It's easy to think that after so many years together, your partner should automatically understand what you need. But that's where the problem lies. The assumption that they'll know what you need without you ever having to say it is a dangerous one. You see, emotional intimacy requires effort. It requires communication. It requires vulnerability. And often, as couples age, we forget how to ask for what we need, or we don't feel comfortable expressing our desires anymore. We're afraid of burdening our partner or making them feel guilty. But here's the painful truth: when these needs go unmet for too long, resentment builds. For many women, emotional intimacy becomes even more crucial with age. They've lived through so much loss, change, perhaps even illness, and they long for someone to walk beside them, to share their burdens, to understand their soul without needing to explain. Yet, when this doesn't happen, it feels as though their emotional world is invisible. It feels as though the love they've given over the years has gone unreturned, and so, the silence grows. The distance between you and your partner widens. Not because you don't love each other, but because the emotional connection that once seemed so effortless is now strained, almost out of reach. But here's the thing: this doesn't have to be the end. Your emotional needs aren't something to be ashamed of, they are a natural part of being human, and they are even more important as we age. What's needed now is the courage to speak up. To express how you feel, not out of frustration or anger, but out of a deep desire to reconnect. To share your heart and let your partner know what you need, whether it's a simple gesture of affection, a long conversation, or a shared moment of vulnerability. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it may feel uncomfortable at first. But remember, a relationship that thrives in emotional intimacy is a relationship that will endure. The key is not to wait for your partner to read your mind. Speak your truth. Be honest about what you need, and encourage your partner to do the same. And in this honesty, in this vulnerability, there's a chance to rebuild what may have been lost over time. Love, after all, is not just about being together. It's about being understood. And that, my friends, is something worth fighting for. As time marches on, our bodies inevitably change. What once felt strong, vibrant, and full of energy begins to slow down. The reflection in the mirror no longer matches the youthful image we hold in our minds. Wrinkles appear. The body doesn't move as easily as it once did. The vitality that was once taken for granted seems to slip away little by little. For women, these physical changes can be a source of deep insecurity. It's easy to feel invisible, especially in a world that celebrates youth and beauty above all else. But the truth is, aging is a natural part of life, and with it comes wisdom, experience, and a deeper understanding of who we are. Still, the changes can feel difficult. Even painful, to accept. Now, imagine this: you've spent years taking care of your body, nurturing it, doing your best to stay healthy, but no matter what you do, the signs of aging are undeniable. You might not feel the same way about your body as you once did. Perhaps your energy isn't what it used to be, or you notice that you don't look the same as when you were younger. And here's where it hurts the most: if your partner doesn't acknowledge these changes with kindness, appreciation, or reassurance, it can feel like a silent rejection. It's not just about the physical appearance, it's about the emotional toll of those changes. When you feel like your body is no longer valued or appreciated by the person you love, it can stir feelings of inadequacy, even shame. The woman who once felt adored, desired, and seen for her beauty now feels overlooked, as though she has faded into the background. The truth is, aging affects both partners. But often, women are the ones who feel the brunt of this change. They are the ones who see their bodies transform in ways that they may not always feel prepared for. And without reassurance from their husbands, this can foster resentment, a deep, unspoken feeling that says, if you loved me, you would see me, all of me, even as I change. But it's not just about physical changes. It's about appreciation. When your partner stops recognizing the effort you put into caring for your body, when they stop noticing the small things you do, like getting dressed, keeping yourself healthy, or even caring for the household, it can create an emotional distance that's hard to bridge. Many women feel that their worth is tied to their appearance, especially in relationships where physical attraction has played a central role. But here's the thing: you are more than your appearance. Your value goes far beyond the reflection in the mirror. And it's crucial for both you and your partner to acknowledge this. For your partner, it's important to recognize the internal beauty that continues to grow as you age. The wisdom you've gained, the experiences you've shared, the depth of your character, that is what makes you truly beautiful. And when your partner takes the time to show appreciation for those qualities, it fosters a sense of love that transcends the superficial. So, what can be done? How can this gap be bridged? First, both partners must acknowledge that aging is not a flaw. It's a journey, a beautiful one. And that journey deserves recognition and respect. You may not look the same, but you are no less valuable. And it's time to make sure that both partners see that clearly. To the women out there, remind yourself every day that you are worthy of love and appreciation, just as you are. And to the partners, take the time to acknowledge the beauty that your spouse holds, not just in how she looks, but in who she is. Let her know that, despite the changes, she is still the woman you cherish. Because at the heart of it all, it's not about the wrinkles, the gray hairs, or the extra pounds. It's about love, respect, and a shared life that has endured. This recognition, this appreciation, is what will keep the spark alive as you both grow older. And it's what will help you weather the inevitable changes that come with age, together. As life progresses, one of the most common challenges in long-term marriages is the gradual buildup of emotional and physical distance. At first, it's subtle. Maybe you stop spending as much time together, or the conversations become shorter, more transactional. But over time, this distance can grow until it feels like a chasm. For many older couples, daily life becomes more about the routines and responsibilities than about the shared moments of connection. The once joyful dates, spontaneous adventures, or quiet evenings together are replaced by the never-ending to-do lists, doctor appointments, household chores, family obligations. It's easy to get caught up in the demands of everyday life. And when that happens, the emotional connection that once felt so effortless starts to fade. You may find that the emotional intimacy that once bonded you so closely is now lacking. The little gestures, the words of encouragement, the shared laughter, they seem to disappear as the years go on. Instead, you might feel as though you're just two people coexisting in the same space, going through the motions of life without truly engaging with one another, but the physical distance is just as impactful. Aging bodies require more care, more attention, more patience. The energy you once shared in your younger years has begun to wane, and that affects not just how you interact, but how you physically connect. For many women, this shift can be especially difficult. You may notice that physical affection has become less frequent, or that the intimacy that once defined your relationship is no longer there. When this happens, feelings of isolation can take root. You begin to feel like roommates rather than lovers, companions rather than soulmates. And this emotional and physical distance, this quiet separation, can build walls that are hard to break down. But why does this happen? Why, after so many years of closeness, does this distance begin to grow? In many cases, it's a result of complacency. As partners settle into the comfort of long-term marriage, they may stop prioritizing the small things that once made their relationship special. They may assume that the connection will always be there, without realizing that it requires constant nurturing. For women, this sense of emotional and physical distance can lead to a profound sense of loneliness. They may feel like their partner is no longer invested in them, that the spark that once brought them together has dimmed. And this can breed resentment, a quiet, unspoken resentment that builds up over time. But the good news is, this isn't a permanent state. Distance, whether emotional or physical, is something that can be bridged with intention, effort, and open communication. The first step is recognizing that this distance exists. It's not something to be ignored or swept under the rug. Once you acknowledge it, both partners need to be willing to address it. For women, this might mean taking the first step to reintroduce intimacy into the relationship. Start small, maybe with a kind touch, a shared moment of affection, or a conversation about how you're feeling. The key is to start re-engaging with each other, emotionally and physically, even if it feels awkward at first. For men, the challenge is to notice when emotional distance has crept in. Pay attention to the subtle signs. Does your partner seem withdrawn? Is she asking for more attention or affection? Don't let pride or routine keep you from reaching out. Acknowledge the change and take the time to reconnect, but this is not just about the physical, it's about the emotional. Rekindle the emotional intimacy you once had by opening up about your thoughts, your feelings, and your desires. Share your fears and your hopes. Ask your partner about their day. Engage in deep, meaningful conversations that go beyond the surface level. When you take the time to close this gap, when you invest in emotional and physical connection, the rewards are immeasurable. The resentment will begin to dissipate, and the intimacy that once defined your relationship will return, richer and more profound than ever before. Remember, relationships are not static. They grow, they evolve, and sometimes, they need to be re-nurtured. But the effort you put into reigniting that connection will not only strengthen your bond, it will remind you both of why you fell in love in the first place. It's never too late to close the distance, to rediscover each other, and to rebuild the love that has always been there. All it takes is the willingness to try. In the quiet moments of long-term marriage, there's something that often goes unnoticed. It's the silent expectations, the ones we never speak out loud but that silently weigh down the relationship over time. These unspoken expectations become the hidden burden that can quietly erode the bond between partners. For women, especially as they age, these expectations often accumulate like a heavy fog that settles over the relationship. You may expect your partner to notice when you're struggling, to understand when you're tired, or to see the emotional labor you carry every day. And perhaps at one time, those expectations were met with ease, when you were younger, when the relationship was still fresh, when life felt more vibrant. But now, as the years pass, it seems like your partner no longer picks up on these cues, and the weight of unspoken needs and expectations begins to feel unbearable. This is the silent resentment that builds up over time, the kind that isn't voiced, but that quietly colors every interaction. You may feel frustrated, even hurt, but you're unsure how to express it. After all, you've been together for so long, and at times it seems like everything should be understood without words. But that's the trap. These unspoken expectations, whether they're about emotional support, physical affection, or even just attention, become the silent agreements we assume are in place. And when they're not met, even in small ways, they create a sense of being unseen or unheard. Over time, this can lead to frustration and, ultimately, resentment. You might think to yourself, why does he never notice how much I do? Or why doesn't he understand what I need without me having to say it? You may feel as though your partner should be able to read your mind, to pick up on the subtle signs of your frustration. But the truth is, no one can read your mind. And the longer you leave these expectations unspoken, the harder it becomes to bridge the gap. At the same time, you may be putting the same expectations on yourself. The belief that you should be able to keep everything together, that you should be able to carry the emotional load of the relationship and the household, and that you should always be strong for your partner. But this is another form of silent resentment, the belief that you must do it all, without asking for help, without sharing the burden. And it's a belief that can slowly chip away at your sense of self-worth. For many women, this weight becomes even more pressing as they age. Their physical strength may decline, their emotional resilience may feel stretched thin, and their patience may be wearing thin as well. But even as these shifts occur, they still carry the silent weight of expectations from themselves, from their partner, and from the relationship itself. But here's the truth, unspoken expectations will never lead to the connection and understanding you crave. In fact, they often create distance instead. The more you expect without speaking, the more likely it is that your partner won't meet those needs, and the more resentment will grow. So, how do you break free from this pattern? The first step is to stop assuming. Stop assuming that your partner knows what you need, and stop assuming that they should be able to meet those needs without being told. If you want more attention, tell him. If you need more emotional support, say so. If you want a moment of intimacy, ask for it. Open communication is the key to breaking the cycle of silent resentment. At the same time, it's essential to recognize the expectations you're placing on yourself. Stop believing that you must carry the burden alone. Stop thinking that you must be perfect, that you must always be strong, and that you must never ask for help. It's okay to let go of that expectation. It's okay to be vulnerable and ask for the support you deserve. And for your partner, the challenge is clear: listen. Don't wait for her to speak up in frustration. Pay attention to her needs, to the things she might not be saying. Ask her how she's feeling, how you can support her, and what she truly needs. These small actions of care and attentiveness can go a long way in dissolving the silent resentment that has built up over time. Remember, the foundation of any lasting relationship is mutual understanding and open communication. It's about recognizing and meeting each other's needs, not just the ones that are spoken, but the ones that remain unspoken, too. When you stop assuming and start communicating, when you let go of the silent expectations and speak your truth, the relationship becomes lighter, freer, and the resentment that has quietly built up over the years, it starts to dissolve, replaced by the connection and understanding you've always needed. As we come to the end of this journey through the silent struggles that many aging women face in marriage, there is one final truth that we must embrace: it's never too late to rebuild, to reconnect, and to rekindle the love that has always been at the heart of your relationship. Yes, the challenges of aging are real. Yes, the emotional distance, unmet needs, physical changes, and unspoken resentments can create barriers that feel impossible to overcome. But these barriers are not permanent. They are not the end of your story. In fact, they can be the beginning of something even more beautiful. The key to overcoming these struggles lies in one simple, yet profound truth: communication. It's about speaking up, being vulnerable, and daring to share your deepest desires, your fears, and your emotional needs with your partner. It's about reaching across the divide and offering your hand, saying, "I want us to grow together, even through these challenges." Rebuilding a relationship isn't about turning back time or pretending that things were always perfect. It's about embracing the present, acknowledging the changes that have occurred, and deciding together that you still want to fight for the connection that brought you together in the first place. For women, this means allowing yourself to be vulnerable once again, to express what you need, to say what you want, and to give your partner the opportunity to step in and support you. It's about recognizing that your emotional needs are valid and deserve to be heard, no matter how many years have passed. For men, this means being attentive, being present, and actively listening. It means noticing the subtle signs that your partner is struggling and responding with love, compassion, and care. It means not taking her for granted, and instead, cherishing the wisdom and strength she has carried with her throughout the years. Together, you can overcome the silent struggles that threaten to pull you apart. Together, you can create a relationship that is built not just on the foundation of shared history, but on a renewed commitment to one another. It's time to stop letting resentment fester. It's time to start rebuilding, not just the relationship, but the love and trust that can carry you both through the years ahead. The path may be challenging, but it's worth every step. After all, the love you share is worth fighting for. If this story resonated with you, if you've seen these struggles in your own relationship, or if you're committed to rekindling the spark in your marriage, don't let this journey end here. Subscribe to the channel for more insightful content that will help you navigate the complexities of aging, relationships, and self-care. Leave a comment below and let us know how you're planning to take the first step toward rebuilding your relationship. We'd love to hear your thoughts, your stories, and your hopes for the future. Remember, you're not alone in this. We're all here, growing and learning together. Thank you for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.